Hello, guys. So I started going on a rant about what I learned in therapy, and I decided, I'll videotape it. I go on these rants um, of ideas for videos, and then they end up being really good. And then when I come to make the actual video, I forget what I was said before. So I decided to videotape this one. So what I learned in therapy. Now, I didn't grow up in the most stable of households. My parents fought constantly, and they made sure that me and my brothers, knew that they were fighting. And they dragged us into the middle of their fighting. Now, to be clear, my parents are not awful people. They're not bad people. They're good people. They're just not good together. Apart, they're wonderful. Together, they're like an atomic bomb waiting to go off. So, yeah, not good. So, because of that, I didn't grow up with the most stable of mindsets. I had a lot of insecurities. I still have a lot of insecurities. I grew up learning to be a compulsive liar because my parents were playing games where we would have to lie to the other parent. To the point where eventually it became that you would lie to this parent and tell them that this parent said this thing, and you get whatever you want, essentially. So I learned to be a compulsive liar because every time I lied, I got what I wanted. Anyway, thanks to that upbringing, I was not the most stable person. I had a lot of insecurities, and I used to follow the mantra of fake it till you make it. Basically, if you pretend something is reality, it will somehow morph into reality. Now, I was a person who really wanted attention. My parents were so busy fighting each other that I didn't really get much attention as a child. I'm also the youngest. So apparently by the time they got to the third child, they were kind of just like, we're tired of trying to take care of these kids and fight, so we're just gonna fight. Now, again, they're not bad people. They didn't mean to do this. It was just a lot all at once. They were not compatible. So please, parents, if you think you're not compatible, if you're constantly fighting, for the love of God, get a divorce. Trust me, your kids will be better off for it. It reached a point with my parents where me and my brothers, were actively begging them, please, for the love of God, Buddha, whoever you believe in, please get a divorce. Now, I ask any parents out there to please not make it so that your kids reach this point where they ask you to get a divorce. Because if it reaches that point, then your kids have already probably been very severely traumatized. And that's not something anyone wants, I would hope. I'm going to touch on that topic later. So, I went through my life, again, the fake it till you make it mentality. I thought that, I looked up, because I wanted attention, I looked up what would make people give you attention, what would make you, quote-unquote, popular, and make people love you. And so I would always find these things that said people like confident people like this, people like that, and I came across so many videos that told me, fake being confident, and eventually you'll gain confidence in yourself. Now, that might work for some people. Possibly people who have not been through what I have. Now, again, granted, I have had a very privileged life. I have always had food and water and a roof over my head and clothes and schooling. I'm not saying I lived in some kind of hellscape. That's not it. But I did go through a lot of traumatic stuff because of my parents fighting. As a child, your parents are everything to you, and so when you see them fighting, it's like your world is crashing down around you. So I would look for these things, and I would believe these videos that would tell you that if you acted confident, or you acted this or that, or if you put all your attention on other people, they would like that. People like people who are confident, people like people who give them attention, people like when they're listened to. So, and people like people who are kind. So I tried to be kind, overly so. I tried to always listen to everyone around me. I tried to be understanding and supportive. And I still tried to act confident, even in situations where I knew nothing. Which, disclaimer, that caused a lot more harm than good. I mean, it did help some people sometimes. But a lot of the time, it didn't. it just made things worse. So if you don't know anything about a topic, unless it's like common sense, like, oh, your spouse is beating you, you should probably leave him. That kind of common sense. But otherwise, if it's something that you don't know anything about, then I would advise you to not poke your nose in, because you might make things 10 times worse. Anyway, so I started following these things that I found online, the advice that would somehow make people magically want me, magically love me, and I would not be alone anymore. Because, well, I have amazing brothers, but they were busy trying to not fall apart themselves. And my parents were busy fighting. So I constantly felt alone. I loved my grandpa, and my grandpa loved me, and I had him, but he did not live with us. So I always felt alone. I was also being bullied in school, most probably because I had so much baggage at home that I could not really talk with people. And somehow that led people to thinking that I was stuck up, I assume. I'm not entirely sure. Okay. Anyway, so I followed all this advice, and it didn't make anything better. In fact, everything kept getting worse. The more confident I pretended to be, the worse things got. The more I listened to people, the worse things got. The more I tried to care about people, the worse things got, and I didn't understand why. Until I finally started going to therapy. Now, fair is fair, my mom and my brothers did try to put me in therapy way earlier than this, but I was born at the very end of the 90s to early 2000s, where mental health was still not that big of a thing yet. And in my little child head, for some reason, going to a therapist meant that I was crazy, and I knew I was not crazy. I'm not crazy, I'm not going to a therapist. It took a while for me to grow up, and until I entered college, to realize that, therapy doesn't mean you're crazy. It just means that you have stuff that you need help with. And that's fine, that's okay. Everyone has something they need help with, and you can't always do everything by yourself. You're not always going to be able to do everything by yourself. It's impossible. If that was possible, relationships with other people would not be a thing. Because if you were completely self-sufficient, why would you need other people? I mean, yeah, sure, you might want to be around other people sometimes, but I imagine if you were 100% self-sufficient, you wouldn't really be spending that much time around other people because, well, I don't need you. So it's completely normal, and I only realized this recently, that you can't do everything by yourself. There are some problems that you won't be able to solve by yourself, and it's okay to ask for help. That's basically what therapy is. You realize that you have a problem, and you ask for help, and that's okay. So something that I learned in therapy that just dispelled all of what I thought before, this pretending to be something I'm not, confident, and so forth, was not gonna work. But instead of pretending that I'm all this stuff, I need to look inward and find the value within myself. Give myself value. Turns out the reason people kept getting further and further away from me is because I devalued myself. I made myself nothing special. I made myself feel invaluable to them. I was always there. I was always gonna be there because I was desperate for their attention. And so if they didn't pay me attention, it's not like I was gonna disappear, like I had something better to do. I was always looking for their attention. So they didn't want it. It's hurtful when you try so hard and then people ignore you. But when I think about it, it makes a little bit of sense. When you're so desperate for something to the point where you become pushy, you decrease your own value, which is not good. It's not okay to decrease your own value. You're a valuable person. And let's be clear, you don't need to be special at something. You don't need to have a special talent to make yourself valuable. You don't need to be good at sports or artistic or this genius in like academics to be special or to have value. You are human, you are alive, you have value because you have life. And you can't revolve your life around other people, because then it's not your life anymore. You're essentially giving up your life. If you make your entire life about getting other people's approval and getting other people's attention and getting other people to love you, well, it's not your life anymore. It's their life, because their actions, their life, their ideas is what's impacting this life the most. It's not yours anymore. And that greatly decreases how people see you. This is your life. And as selfless as it might sound, you need to prioritize yourself first. You can't be there for anyone. You can't help anyone. You can't be confident in anything until you have your shit together. Until you care about yourself, you can't care about anyone else. Not properly. Now, don't get me wrong. You can definitely care about other people, even if you don't feel like you're the most important person, which is something I struggled with. I always had low self-worth. I didn't think I was that important, which is why I struggled with depression and suicidal thoughts. I still do. They're not gone. Whenever something happens and my anxiety flares up, all these dark thoughts come rushing back in, but I'm slowly being able to deal with them. So just know that you have value. And if it takes you some time to get away and find what that value is, then go ahead. But I'm telling you right now that that value is that you are alive. I think, therefore I am. I live, therefore I have value. So that's what I learned in therapy. I hope that you guys will stick around to see what else I learned in therapy. I've been kind of on a self-help journey, mental therapy, and trying to lose weight to become more healthy, which, yes, despite those body positivity people going about telling you that obesity is healthy, I'm here to tell you that it's not. I wish I could run around like I did when I was a child. I can't because I'm obese, but that's gonna be another video. And I hope this video helped some of you if you were struggling with anything. I will continue posting whatever it is I find important to post out there. And I hope I'll see you soon, I guess. Bye.